Obviously, tough weekend for the Panthers down south. Our guys competed. I always kind of evaluate, with what we did back there. Our kids had a great attitude, still got a great attitude. I think they play with great effort. You put the tape on. Our guys played hard. We played tough. I would say 90% of the time. There's some fits, with some linebackers. There's always some nasty part of the game that you'd like to see done better when I talk toughness. And, we're by far not a soft team, not even close. I didn't even use that word. But our kids play tough. Could we play tougher? Yes. There's a couple plays out there. I mean, Connor Dentino's, doing some great job chopping some people. I wish everybody was doing that, and it's kind of a, he knocks a couple linebackers on their tails and they're like this, holding their back. I mean, so to me, that's part of the game and something I'd still like to see a little bit more of that. But our kids are playing hard. There was a lot of good and there was some bad. And, 181 plays, down south, I think it was 91 plays defensively, on the field too long, got to get off, got to help, be off the field with some, sustained drives on offense. I think offensively, we were on field for 53 plays or something like that. And then special teams about 28 snaps, but 181 snaps. And you take, 2 or 3 special teams play, you take 12 on offense and 12 on defense. There's a lot of things that we can improve in. There's a lot of times it's really not what they did, it's what we did. Those are the things we talked last night. It's a discipline and details, and details are all over the place. And I know we're not going to be perfect, as coaches. I mean, there's details as coaches. I mean, we had one substitution problem all day, and it wasn't the kids' fault. It was our fault because you can't sub if they don't sub. We try to sub on a third down. That's the only problem we had the entire day, details. Even our kids on defense last night, Dennis Briggs sits where you do, thanked the Rocks because he said, Coach, the game was slower. Okay, the game was slower than what we had in practice last week. So that's a good thing. So we got the right tempo. We're going to see it again this weekend. And we had no problem with the tempo. We had one substitution problem. And again, that's on us as coaches. It was not on our kids. It was, you didn't have time. And they saw it. They saw us subbing, and they just going to snap it real quick and get a freebie. But our kids had no problem with the tempo, with all those plays. And obviously the heat and humidity down there, we know what that was. So there's always those issues there, but there's plays that we got to fix, and it comes down to me and the details and discipline. And I don't care what it is, we've got to clean those up. And you make that many mistakes against a good football team, it's not going to be a pretty sight. So we got a great Syracuse team coming in that's going to come again with that tempo. With Dino Babers does a great job. As I look at them, on offense, defense, special team, as solid as football team as you're going to face. You look at beating Florida State. In their house, going down and giving Clemson all they wanted last weekend. We know how hard that is down in Death Valley. They were this far away. Maybe you say you should have got it done, but they're Jerry. They're a good football team, and they're a really good football team. Eric Dungy, the quarterback, I think is phenomenal. I can't believe he's still there. He's a senior. And he's been a good football player for years. I think he's a better quarterback. I think he's even better now than he was. I think he's running smarter. I think he's taking care of his body, which is smart on his part. And so they've done a great job coaching him, and he's throwing the ball with more efficiency, I think. In the D-line, it starts with all those guys up front. They got 4 returning starters up front, and they're nasty up front. I know the D-line coach very well. He's doing a heck of a job up there, and it starts with those guys. It starts up front. So our O-line has got to control those guys up front to have a successful day. So it's going to be a battle. It's homecoming, and we're looking forward to the challenge. So.
Speaking of those tempo, the heat that you guys dealt with Saturday, you see how coach and players said afterward that they thought some of the cramping issues that you guys had throughout were more gamesmanship than legitimate. Do you have any response to that?
Not a whole lot. Again, I don't care what they say. I don't care what we say. It doesn't really matter. It's put it this way. I'll just leave it at this. We didn't have a problem with the tempo. There was multiple IVs given even before halftime, during halftime, and in the third quarter. I mean, that speaks for itself. We don't just give IVs to people for nothing. It's not even worth addressing, to be honest with you. I've cramped in a recliner before after some yard work. I mean, what are we talking about? It's all about the player safety. I'm never going to question the guy's health. And again, it wasn't all cramping issues either. So, is that good? That answer you?
Yeah.
I hate to be short, but it's not.
They had a couple plays where the running back got loose against the linebacker. Is that something where it's just a tough matchup? Is there something you'd like to see your guys do differently on those?
Okay, you said a running back get loose versus some of the, just.
The two long pass plays, he had one, I think it was against Virginia.
Yeah. Let's start with the one with Virginius. It's Virginius's guy. You get beat with some of those tee shoots, so he's kind of worried about the tee shoot. Then the guy comes off and breaks it out. Just looking at that play fundamentally, I mean, number one, he's an electric dude. The guy can fly. So I understand what Quentin's worried about, that tee shoot, as we talked about, and they've run those as well. So he's kind of leveraging it from the inside out. And then I think it was maybe Zeiss out there, or was it Zeiss on that play, where he just had his back turned, and he's got to keep some vision and turn it back. So to me, those two guys got to funnel that thing together, and it just got outside. And we also had a bad pass rush, which left the lane for that quarterback to throw it right there. So, I mean, it kind of, you look at the coverage, and you look at, okay, why do you have a clear lane to see that tailback? I wish there was somebody right in that gap to his right where he threw the football. So there's so many things that, and again, those are the details that we're missing. And I forget what the pass rush was. I've seen so many plays and have moved on to the next game here yesterday afternoon and today. And then the other one was on a wheel route, right? Which we see it, guys, that we see it all the time. And it was a boundary safety, kind of off the hash, a different guy, but we've seen it before. We call it Superman, and it's the lead back going out, and someone coming across his face. He hung with that guy, and that guy got outside him. But they got to push it over and fit it. Our offense runs that play, and it's just a detail.
Yeah, I know Narduzzi did play against you guys 2 years ago, but can you maybe compare his progression as a sophomore or younger to what Kenny's doing as a sophomore? And what is holding Kenny back at this point right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, game experience. Game experience and having all the weapons there, doing all the right things and detailed out as well. I mean, you look at the details, and he throws a ball. It's a pretty good ball Saturday, and Maurice is running down the field waiting for it to be put here. Well, how about we turn around and go take it off that guy's head that it bounced off of? It's just making those plays, and we got to go make plays and jump for the ball. And you would think you wouldn't have to coach that. You hope he would just go get the ball and high point the ball, but it's a little bit of everything. It's protection, number one. We're gonna have to protect him this weekend. But Kenny, again, asked a question. Is he where you thought he'd be? That's why I said, expectations coming off that Miami game a year ago. He's still a young guy, and I'm happy with where Kenny is. I love that kid, and it's a process. I think quarterback Pat Bostic can probably tell you about the process better than anybody. And right now, the game is moving fast for him, okay? And I think once you start to get multiple games under your belt and feel those pressures and all those things, that the game eventually, Pat Bostic, will slow down for him. And I think, that's what you got to wait for. And it's, I don't know when that's going to happen. But it's not easy sitting back in that pocket. I wouldn't want to be that dude back there. He's got a lot of things. He puts a lot of stress on himself. And the last thing he needs to do is for me to put stress on him. He's doing a solid job. He's got 10 other guys around him that got to do their job too.
Did you see the same thing from Narduzzi 2 years ago?
A little bit. I mean, it's hard for me I don't see that guy every day in practice. I mean, I see Kenny every day in practice, but there's some times where he would bail and pull out of the pocket and run, and then throw his head down and run somebody over. I've seen some of Kenny early in the year do that. We've kind of maybe got some of that fixed a little bit. He's wearing his knee braces. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's all young quarterbacks. I think it's part of the process that you're going to have to go through with a young quarterback, a young safety, a young corner, a young Mike linebacker, a young first-year left guard. He's that type of guy. It's hard to measure that. I mean, because he's a guy. Hey, Kenny, everything okay? Everything's great, coach. Everything's great. It's like he'll, but I'm sure he does. I mean, who doesn't? I do too. It's all starts with me. So I mean, he's that type of guy that's going to say that's my fault. I got to do better. I should have done this. I should and those things pile up at times. But there's guys around him that should be saying, Coach, Kenny, that's my fault. I should have gone up and got the ball. That ain't your fault. That's my fault. Even with Darren Hall and that pick he throws when he's got Shockey wide open over here, if you watch it, I mean, he looks, he's like, I think he's covered. Then he looks over, I mean, he looks to Shockey. There's not anybody within 20 yards of him on that same thing that they scored on. and then he decides to take it deep to go make a play. I need to spark something. Well, hey, just play within the framework of the defense, and that's what young quarterbacks are going to do. I want to go throw it down there, but Darren Hall can go get the ball too. I mean, go play defense now. It's a little bit underthrown. Come back and knock that ball out, and those are details.
How much do you think the defensive struggles are actually affecting the offense? I mean, given that you got a young quarterback, your running game is one of your strengths. When you get down in an early hole like that, I mean, how much does that sort of change the game plan?
Yeah, I don't know if it changes the game plan, but it changes minds. And I've always said this. Offense sits over here. The offense is going to feed off the defense, and the defense is going to feed off the offense. But when there's nobody's making a spark and making something happen, you start that game off, we defer. Probably people are looking at us, and that was the right coin toss too, by the way. People probably going, holy cow. But we felt, like I said, we felt comfortable with going out there and doing what we did. We felt good with the game plan, and we go 3 and out. Okay, now what do you like to do is have that offense spark something and go. And then all of a sudden, but it just kind of goes back and forth. And when you're out on the field for 91 plays, the defense did some nice things. And then we did some just not very intelligent stuff. And we got smart guys, so that shouldn't be a case. But just, the late hits on the quarterbacks. I mean, we got two interceptions, that get called back for penalties. I mean, we got another I don't know if it was hands to face on the one player. It was a late hit on the quarterback on the backwards pass, which should be a scoop and score. But sometimes we got to have a little bit of luck too. And I think, it's all caved in with us with execution, details, discipline, and maybe no luck at all either. Because there's 2 other balls on the ground that we don't get. And sometimes that comes to getting balls and being lucky.
What was different about UCF that made you want to come out and play so much nickel? And just how do you sort of evaluate how that went?
I think it went good, to be honest with you. I think, we give up, we go back, we went back and forth, with some nickel and with some base stuff. We're putting that 5th DB in there, and we go back to base, and they hit us on a 7 route for a touchdown with no reroute because there's so much RPO going on that, that RPO is that run-pass conflict. And there were some misfits by the linebackers in there, and again, some good stuff they were doing. They do a good job. They know what they're doing. They know what you're in. They run, so few formations really fast, so you're kind of stuck in whatever you're going to be in, and you can't change it up too much. And that's the beauty of what they do offensively. But there is no run-pass conflict when you put a nickel out on that guy that's going to get the throw. So it's putting, something. And again, I think our guys did something. Jason Pinnock had a heck of a football game out there, matching up on the inside slot receiver. I mean, I think he played a heck of a game, and that's kind of what we're waiting for him. I know he's banged up early in the year, but he needed that. And then you watch him run down on special teams. So that did some, that helped us. Okay, it didn't hurt us. But obviously we're gonna have to do some different things this week with the same stuff. They've, so we'll see game plan wise what we do. But we just got to be better in some of the fits inside, and there's a lot of carryover from our base to what you call a nickel package.
Hey, you mentioned a couple times this season how you work on things in practice, but you get hurt by those same things in the game. Is it not so much scheme and preparation as it might be just personnel?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it's sometimes there's a mismatch somewhere where, wow, we're not fast enough to cover that guy or take that guy out of the backfield. But it's football. I mean, that's what, I don't care what stage it is. It's football. Sometimes it's scheme. Sometimes it's personnel mismatches. And sometimes it's coaching. And it's our job as coaches to put our kids in position to make a play. And, and when you look at it, is it structurally? Is it physical? Is it mental? And there's a little bit of everything, which there is in every game. I've graded offenses and defenses for years as far as what happened here. Okay, that's a structural. They had to do something wrong. We've got them, all over the place, and it just takes one guy out of the 11 on the field at that time not to make the right block. And there was offensively some of those situations, and defensively that same situation.
Your first 10 losses here, Pat, came by a combined 84 points. The past 10 come by a combined 184 points. A stat like that, we've dug, it says back in the direction of this program.
Well, that's, you can evaluate. I think the program's going in the right direction. I'm not, that's not my job. My job is to get ready for Syracuse. You can write what you want to write, because I know you will. But, you can't look at the points. You look at the wins and losses. The points don't matter. That's all stats. And, is it the offense not scoring enough? The defense is giving up big points. Is it who you played, as we've talked earlier, whether it's, an Oklahoma State? But, can't worry about that. Worry about wins and losses, and we want more wins and we want less losses, and we got to work to get to that point.
I know you haven't faulted the guys' effort on game day at all, but in terms of throughout the week, when you talk about these routes that you guys covered, but then when something breaks down, are you getting the buy-in and the focus and the attention to the little details throughout the week that you need from these guys to be better on Saturday?
Well, if you're doing it on, it's a matter of going out there in a game and doing it. But if you're doing it on, Tuesday and Wednesday in practice and Thursday, and again, there's busts and there's, it's not like we're perfect in practice. That's why you practice. If we were perfect in practice, wouldn't have to do it. But, there's things that happen at a high rate out there, and a different look and a different guy getting that look. And, every kid can't get the physical rep on the field. Sometimes there's the mental reps that you got to see. Oh, yeah, I saw that. I didn't get that play, but Phil got it. Stocker didn't get it. But, there's got to take mental reps, and that's why we have film sessions. So, there's plenty of that.
Played a pretty ridiculous game against Syracuse 2 years ago. Last year, at least defensively, it was more like what you guys are used to. You feel like there was some sort of lesson learned or something that you took from that game 2 years ago that you're able to have so much success defensively against last year?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to sometimes it's the X and O's and sometimes it's the personnel. 2 years ago, I'll never forget that game for a long time. But we had a lot of missing pieces in the back end, okay? And, it was structurally and it was physical because of our lack of depth back there and the amount of plays, 126 plays that day compared to 91 last weekend, and our offense scored they scored in one play and then we're back out there, Gatorade to go. I mean, it's just so many factors. I hope we have that problem this weekend, scoring really fast. I hope for that. When you look at those factors, it's personnel, and then it's us doing something different because of the personnels, and we're playing off coverage, which we don't really like to do. So I think it's a little bit of both.
With Syracuse's tempo pad, with a mobile and experienced quarterback, how similar is y'all's preparation defensively this week going to be to how it was last week?
The preparation is going to be almost exactly the same. I mean, the defenses are going to vary. We're going to obviously do some things different, but the preparation, for our kids, I told them, watching that tape, that side of the ball especially. I mean, that side's a little bit different as far as what they do defensively. I mean, they're 4 down, a lot of cover 3 principles, but for the defense side of the ball, them watching that tape is just kind of a make your corrections, learn from your mistakes, and let's fix them for Saturday. That's really what it comes down to, because they're going to do some of the same things that Central Florida did, and then they're going to make their adjustments. Okay, they're doing this, so there'll be a lot of back and forth. So, for them, they got to be excited that we played Central Florida the last game. For us, we're saying, hey, at least got to prepare for the tempo. Our guys know that's not going to be a problem coming in. We're going to be able to get lined up. You put on tape. You put on tape against Central Florida, and I mean, probably the most proud thing is our guys got lined up. I mean, there's not times, I told you that one substitution problem was ours, but our guys are lined up in position to make plays, and that's half the battle, is getting your home spot. I mean, I could throw tape on. You're going to be, you couldn't tell what a front and coverage it is because, Syracuse or Central Florida is going quick and guys aren't even lined up. I don't know how you identify a front because there's nobody lined up and people are just, running to the other side and the ball is being snapped. We didn't have any of that. And that's a good thing. So our guys should be prepared for that. Taysir's doing great. He's a great kid.
I didn't say anything about an ankle injury.
I know. He's doing great.
Do we have a final question before we wrap up?
What do you think of what you're calling Virginis?
Say it again?
You're calling Virginis.
I don't get into officials or injuries. Mr. Controversy over there. Hey, I'll leave you to do that. You guys do that job. That's not me. I learned my lesson. See, I learned.